pleased now to be joined by the Conservative MP who ran the new Chancellor's leadership campaign over the summer. Yes, Philip Dunne ran Jeremy Hunt's leadership campaign. He's a former health minister himself and now chairs the Environmental Audit Committee. Philip, thank you for joining us this morning. I suppose the first question here is Jeremy Hunt the new Prime Minister already?
No, Jeremy Hunt was appointed as Chancellor on Friday. I think it was a very wise appointment by the Prime Minister, and he spent the weekend ensconced with her at Chequers, working out the measures that need to be taken to provide stability to financial markets and to the credibility of the government. And we will be hearing this morning, I think there'll be a statement at 11, and then he'll be speaking to the House at 3:30 about what steps he intends to take. I think it was, again, wise of the Prime Minister and the Chancellor to bring forward their statement from the 31st, the end of the month, 31st of October, to today, in order to provide some clarity and certainty about what aspects of the previous mini-budget will be taken forward.
It does seem that all of the proposals from Liz Truss, even some of the largest proposals on which she was elected as Conservative Party leader and therefore Prime Minister, have now been ditched. Is the person who is really calling the shots here now Jeremy Hunt?
Well, I think the whole issue has come about because there was uncosted proposals, unfunded proposals, which was what was spooking the markets. And I think what was clear from what Jeremy Hunt said over the weekend in his media round is that the direction of travel remains as set out by the Prime Minister. It's the speed and the pace at which these measures can be taken which will be determined by the ability of the economy to afford it. And that's why the sort of focus on growth remains at front and central of what the government is seeking to deliver.
Our minds back to July, when there was a much broader set of candidates for the leadership election. Of course, it was a very rapid set of whittling down there. But you ran Jeremy Hunt's leadership campaign, and in that campaign, he promised to reduce the level of corporation tax from 19% to 15%, saying it was a necessary pro-business move to get the economy going and saying it would be funded through greater economic growth. It sounds almost Trussian in its optimism. How does that square with Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor now, raising corporation tax?
Well, I think, as I was saying, he shares the Prime Minister's view that we need to be a low-tax economy. It's very much his mantra throughout his time in politics is to try to make the UK a very attractive place to bring business and investment into the UK, and having a low tax rate across various types of taxation is an important element of that in bringing new business into the UK. I think it's entirely consistent. I think what's changed, of course, since between the early July, and remember, I'm afraid his campaign didn't last very long, so I did a lot more in the previous campaign in 2019 when he was in the final with
And then he was proposing to reduce corporation tax down to 12.5%, not 15%, but 12.5%, matching the Republic of Ireland. That was even more radical in terms of a tax-cutting measure.
Well, I think what I was about to go on to say was that circumstances have changed over the last 2 months, and he absolutely recognises he needs to deal with the reality of today in his new role as Chancellor. And today's reality is that there is a fiscal gap between the government's spending plans and revenue-generating plans, and that has to be closed. And that's what I think we'll be hearing about today, and then when the OBR reports in due course.
Now, looking at the gilt markets this morning, it does look like the yields are coming down. Borrowing is becoming slightly cheaper for the government now. The pound has strengthened ever so slightly as well. The economics of how the markets receive government policy may well be shoring up. Can the politics, however, follow the markets, or is the situation, is the view of the Conservative Party in the minds of the British public now irrecoverably broken?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of volatility over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Well, you could say over the last year or so in the fortunes of all the political parties, and we've seen that political parties go up and can come down rapidly these days. It's in the era of 24 News, programmes like yours, Tom, which is helping to shape opinion. Opinions change more quickly than they used to do. So I think we can absolutely recover from this. What the government needs is a period of stability and calm. The appointment of Jeremy Hunt is a key element to that, and we'll see what happens over the next week or two. But I'm not going to sit here and join this very small number of voices calling for the Prime Minister to go. I think that's the last thing we need at the moment. We need a period of calm and stable government.
Yes, as you mentioned, 3 of your colleagues publicly calling on the Prime Minister to go, although great speculation that rather more of them privately doing the same thing. Let's see if that stability actually stays or if something more happens. It's been a dramatic morning already, but for now, Philip Dunne, thank you so much for joining us on the briefing this morning. Really appreciate your time.